Hello, everybody. Just a little exercise on something I saw on Facebook today. I thought I'd follow up on. Uh, Here's one of my assistants, Brandon Tiblier, a pretty good player. 107 miles an hour club head speed with a driver, pretty good impact alignments and so forth. And what we wanted to see is what happened when he hit the ball off of his knees. So we put him on his knees. So here he still generated 93.9 miles an hour club head speed, which I think is pretty good. You wouldn't have wanted me to try to do this because you'd have heard me screaming from all over the country. Again, pretty athletic young man. When we use the force plates, the dual force plates from Kistler, is when we measured his weight, he was only about 7 or 8 pounds lighter on his knees than he was standing up with both of his feet on the plate. So you lose a little bit of weight off of the plates in his total body mass, but because his feet are outside of the plates. But some really interesting things when we go to the dual force plates. So here's a swing with Brandon with the regular, that exact shot that he had 107 miles an hour club head speed. And he uses the ground very well. The ground reaction force vectors are here on the left. And then here is the lateral forces. The red lines is the trail leg or right foot for him. The blue line is the lead leg, which is the left leg for him. And then the brown line is the combined. So the interior, that's the laterals, and these lines here, that's take back. There's top of the swing, there's impact. So you could see at take back, he's got a negative lateral force, gets pretty neutral, and then goes into a positive lateral force. And you can see the trail leg's been pushing the whole time, but the lead leg's pushing back more than the trail leg's pushing, and that kind of keeps it in this negative. But then the lead foot changes its mind, so it's pushing away from the target, pulls him forward towards the target at the top, and then by the time before he gets to impact, the lead leg is actually pushing him back away from the target. So you see this reversing action. This is the anterior posterior force, which is the trail leg in blue and the trail leg in red and the lead leg in blue. This is backswing here, where they're working in a scissor action to turn the golfer on the backswing. Then they change directions on the downswing. So again, they actually change directions of force. That's the forward and backward pushing of the feet. The lead leg starts pushing forward, which creates a negative ground reaction force, and the trail leg starts pushing backwards, which creates a positive one. So between these two is what gives us our torque number. So here he is at the top of the golf swing, and he has, let's see what he's got there, about 58 newton meters per kilogram in vertical torque at the change of direction of the club. So he's already using his anterior posterior to create the torque for his entire body. And you're going to see this reach a peak, and then it's going to reverse. So it's going to reach a peak of rotation at about 93%, and before he even gets to the ball, he's actually not reversed on his torquing action, but his lead foot is, because his lead foot is actually going the opposite direction as it was halfway down. Then on the vertical force side, address, top, impact, trail in red, lead in blue. Everybody's seen these graphs by now. At the top, he's about 87% of body mass, which is a little bit high. Usually you see tour players around 72% in maximum D weight. Here's the total weight right here in brown. So of his body mass. And then here comes the verticals that max out right about here at 150% of his body mass, and of which 115% is with his lead leg. So I'm showing you all these because the next thing is I'm going to show you when he's on his knees, the similarities in both the maximums of those and the reversing orders. So if you go into here, and now we got his driver on his knees. If we go ahead and put his markers here, that's his take back frame. Now we go here when the club changes direction. Right about there, that's the top of the backswing. And then we get the impact right there. So we've got those marked, and you're going to see some similarities. His maximum D weight on the verticals is here, and it's pretty close to the top. Maybe it was a little early, but he still D weights. And but let's go first to the laterals. So the laterals, obviously, since he can't use his feet, he can't have as much lateral as he used to have. But then again, his max lateral here is still 30% of his body mass that's contributed both with his left and his right. And before he gets to impact, or when he gets to impact, he's already reversed those laterals. So here we are he's minus 34. So even with no feet, just with his knees, he's both going laterally towards the target and then away from the target before he ever even gets to impact on his knees. So he's still obviously using the ground for that, what we call reversing motion. The anterior posterior is not nearly as abrupt as it is with the feet, but it's still there. So his knees are still moving backwards and forwards. So this is his right knee moving back towards the wall, and this is his left knee pushing, moving towards the camera, the front camera, which is creating a negative ground reaction force. His vertical torques are not as high, but all still there. I mean, he's got a maximum vertical torque here of about 49, which is about half of what he had. And on his verticals, his maximum D weight actually, I think, is even better than when he was on 2 feet. Let me see where it is. Yeah, it's about 76. He's got a little hump here on the downswing on his verticals. So only about 109% of where he would normally have 150. So he definitely doesn't have use of his verticals on his knees as much as he did with his both feet on the ground. And he's got that second hump, which is peaking at impact, but that one, if you remember before, was peaking after impact before. His actual true verticals was this particular motion right here. But he has 109% of his lead leg in vertical force when he is at impact. So he still uses all of the ground reaction forces that he's always used in both directions, and the magnitudes are not as much, and definitely the magnitudes aren't as much when you're on your knees. So you definitely have to use the ground. So what this proves to me is that the arms are a huge part, the arms and torso and pelvis are a huge part of how we create speed, but the ground, without use of the ground, and obviously not use of the lower limbs of the legs, is a very much declining factor of what creates speed. So hopefully that clears that up, that they still use the ground, whether they're on their knees or not, in a very similar fashion to when they have both feet on the ground. If you have any questions, just email me at lightsgolf@gmail.com. Everybody have a great day.